Good morning, everyone. Good afternoon. Hello. Welcome wherever you are in the world. Welcome to our very first edition of the Trouble at Taboo Junction podcast. This is something
Mm.
I'm trying out for the first time. And by podcast, in this context, we're just talking about a little conversation between myself and today fellow author Scarlett Ibis James. So, for those who don't know me, my name is Amanda Karishi. Um, what about me? I've been writing for years, and as Amanda Karishi, I've got a little short story collection for you. Call it Anything But Love, and I've got a novel in the pipeline. Thank you, Scarlett. Um, I'm also doing a little special something that you can find on the Trouble at Taboo Junction um, Substack called After Faith Readings, and you can check it out. So, now to introduce our lovely Scarlett. Scarlett has, I just look at Scarlett's outfit. Scarlett is she is so in, she's so resonating with the Trouble at Taboo Junction vibes. You know, I've got my tigers, I've got my pink and green tigers.
I bought the kuka.
She is, she is so with us. She is so with us today. Okay, so Scarlett is a beautiful soul. She's a beautiful soul. And even if you've never met her, you will know just from reading her work that she is someone with empathy, with compassion, because it shines, it just flows through her work. Anyway, I'll tell you a little bit about her work. She's the author of Scarlet Yearnings, a short story collection, which was how we got to know each other. That was just released just about roughly a year ago.
The anniversary was last is coming up October
Right.
14th.
Amazing, amazing.
Sorry.
And she has come, that was her first foray into being published outside, say, the space of Medium or Substack.
Yes.
Putting something out there that you can buy on Amazon. And, it's just been such an amazing year for her. And I've just been, cheerleading. I've just been looking at all her work and really, being excited and enjoying it. And, just when Scarlet Yearnings was still finding its feet, she wrote this novella. And I love that novella. I loved it. I loved it. It's called Scarlet Birthright. And maybe we're going to talk about it later. But I do want to say a few things about her success, and I'm going to be reading a little bit of it because it's too much for my brain to memorize offhand. Her work has won first place in multiple categories of the 2025 International Firebird Book Awards, in the African American fiction, literary fiction, multicultural fiction, and best for provoking philosophical discussions categories. She was a winner of the 2025 Literary Titan Gold Book Award in fiction, winner of the 2025 International Impact Book Award, short story collection. So that would have been for Scarlet Yearnings. She was a finalist for the 2025 American Legacy Book Awards in the multicultural fiction category. And she's also had 3 5-star reviews from Reader's Favorite Book Awards. So those of you who are US based and New York based might know those references a little bit better than me, but I'm impressed. I'm impressed, and I'm really delighted to be in conversation with Scarlett today. Um, where should we start? Shall I start the
Well,
first one?
I wanna say, Amanda,
Yeah.
that thank you for that very gracious introduction. I want you to know that you have absolutely touched so many parts of my life and my writing. I think that just your reaction to the first story in Scarlet Yearnings
Mm.
is what helped germinate that seed that turned into Scarlet Birthright. Um, and so I think because of your openness and honesty and sisterhood, I feel that that I want you to know that you have absolutely been core to so much of what I've experienced over the last year. And I want to make a shout out to, I think, Bitter O'Reilly or Sweet O'Reilly. I can't remember which one he is, but Mitch in
Oh,
Florida,
okay. Yeah.
because he was the one that I think introduced us on
That's
Medium.
right. Yeah.
So
Yeah. On Medium, Mitch. Yeah.
yeah,
Mitch.
so a fellow Trini,
Uh-huh.
but I do thank you for being a part of my life, and you I count you among my blessings, as they would say.
Wow. Wow. Well, I'm honored to have helped to bring Scarlet Birthright into existence in
Hmm.
whatever small way I did. Um, yeah. And I think in all honesty, I have to say thanks to you as well, because it is a tough, it's a hard thing to be a beginning writer, you know, and you're never really sure 100%. You put out your best work, but you're never really sure if it's landing. And as a friend and as a reader, you've you've been there for me in terms of giving me encouraging feedback that was
You're so
100%
talented.
authentic, you know. Yeah, and it's not something you can take for granted, because I have friends who've been friends with me. You and I have been friends for like a year, you know.
Yes,
And I've
yes,
had friends who've been with me all along, and it's not that they're not 100% solid friends, but not everybody's a reader, and not everybody likes the stuff you write because reading is very subjective.
yes,
So it
yes,
is such a precious thing to have a friend who will read your work and, you know, support it. So I think we've done we've started off with a lot of gratitude and a lot of love,
indeed.
and let's start giving our listeners what they're here for.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes, sounds
yeah.
amazing. Don't make me
I,
cry.
oh my God. One of the things that I love about you, but that I also see in your female characters in your fiction, whether it's your short fiction, whether it's a short story collection, whether it's a novella, is a lot of your female characters, if not all of them, they are bold. And they walk through the world with energy. And so do
Yeah.
you. And I see it in your writing, I see it in your newsletters, I see it in the the energy and work that you put in to get your work out there. I mean, where does that come from for you? Like, are you this way in every sphere of your life? You know, is this tell me more about that. Where does that come from? That boldness, that confidence.
That audacity.
Yeah, you
Um,
too.
yeah. I think that it um I think growing up with my grandmother, I
Mm,
always emulated her. I think she was the first person that I emulated. She she would always say she has a third standard or third grade education, but she was a business owner. She was the first person to make roti and sawo and sell it and do it well.
wow.
I saw her moving through the world in a very bold way.
Mhm,
Very dominant even in her relationship with my grandfather. But it was interesting. That was an interesting dynamic. And I think the second person that I reflect or is very much a part of integral to me is my aunt. This is my father's sister. And she as well, she was my godmother, but she was also a very, like these women were not shrinking violets,
mm,
and so I definitely took from her. My mother was very audacious,
mm,
is what I would say. She was not shy. She was very strong and but also in a very, I think my aunt and my grandmother were more, could possibly be termed more demure,
mm,
but strong. My mother, nothing about her was demure. She was out there and she would refer to herself as Amazon, like she was tall, she was dark, she was very sexual, sensual, and she was and so I loved and admired her as well.
mhm,
And I think that along the way I also saw people that influenced me and influenced who I wanted to become. I tell my sons that observe people and observe what you love about people, and and it's okay to bring that to yourselves. I remember there were these two sisters in my school, Sauer Government Secondary, and they were always so fabulous. I was not fabulous. I was a complete nerd in high school. I'm very different than I was, I think, in high school.
Mhm.
But one of them, well, let's call her Belinda. I don't even know if she knows this. I'm gonna try to connect with her when I go to Trinidad this time. But she and her sister would walk into the classroom, and they would walk in and say, "Good morning, everyone." And that for teens coming in, like nobody did that. But I just love that, and it's something that I picked up. I'm gonna do that.
Mhm.
And I do that. I did that in school. I did that. I do that at work, and I bring it. And so I love and admire strong women, and I grew up influenced by them. I pick up things from other people as well, and I reflect that back to the world. For my characters, I think you and I were talking about that recently, especially the female characters. They are definitely sides of me,
Okay.
probably every single one of them.
Wow. Okay.
And so that's probably what you're picking up
Hmm.
is that is how I show up in the world. And even the characters that are not so great is who I am as well. Because even with that audacity, there are times when, I'm not that, and I'm tired and I'm, and it's different. And I just want to be by myself. Like even yesterday, last story, and I talk a lot, Amanda, so I apologize in advance. But yesterday, my son and I went to a book event. Well, we thought it was a book event, but it was actually a story reading event, which was a little bit different.
Right.
And, but it was great to go in because I was surrounded by people I didn't know and I didn't have to talk to anybody, and I loved it.
Hmm.
And so like I'm okay with going in and being the person that people talk to and gravitate to, and that's how a lot of it is at work. But so many times I just want to be that person that goes into the room and nobody knows me
Yeah.
and they think I'm standoffish, and I'm good with that.
Yeah. Because we need that too. We need that space sometimes. Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that was interesting, and I can really relate to that. I mean, when I was a child, for many years I wanted to be a boy, and
Did
yeah,
you?
yeah, 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 yeah. And when I hit puberty, and it might have had something to do with puberty, but I remember consciously observing that the strong people in my life were women. Now, that's not to say,
Mm,
now men can be strong too, but in my case, it so happened that the strong people in my life were women. I went to all girls schools, both for primary and secondary school. So role models were female teachers. And then there were no weak women that were prominent in my life. There just weren't.
yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and so in other words, the people around me who inspired me were women. And that was when I stepped into enjoying being female. And
Yes.
it even at that age, I also had the insight to recognize what is this doing to my to the young men in my age group who I know who don't really have strong men in their lives. Because
Mm,
it's not that men can't be strong, but all
yeah.
young people need role models. And
Yes.
though the role models don't have to be the same gender as them, it helps. It helps.
Yes.
Because sometimes you're asking yourself and you're gravitating and you're looking, you're searching, what does it mean to be a woman? What does it mean to be a man? And some of
Yes.
that's happening subconsciously. So I enjoyed hearing your answer to that
Yeah.
question. Yeah.
That's interesting. So the interesting thing about what you said is that a lot of people have observed that I exude male energy. I call alpha
But
energy.
that is a
Yeah.
cultural bias. That is a cultural bias that
You think
believes that
so?
women are not strong. And that
And
does
we
not
so
come from the Caribbean.
are.
That does not come from the Caribbean. When
That
you
does
think,
not
when you
come from
hear
the
the word
Caribbean.
woman, do you not think strength? Right away.
Absolutely. 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 And I
Right.
think just so in the spirit of taboo topics, I feel as though in America now, I do observe with some concern
Mm,
the the trying to normalize women in roles that are not upfront, in roles that are in some ways, like there are many women who are being encouraged to be wives and mothers, which is great, which is strong, but it's almost like if you look at the wives of our leaders, they're not Michelle Obama. They are very different. They're in the background. They're supportive, and I think that even like thinking back to my grandmother, even though I think she tried to be like that, I think that or she would always tell people she's a housewife,
hmm.
even when she owned her business.
Interesting.
And I thought that that was interesting. But I see a lot of that. Um, I think that's if the men are not pulling their weight, I think that so in this the thing with my grandparents, I think that my grandfather, everything was in his name, and so when it time came for them to split is when my grandmother realized, what? Like all this stuff I worked for, and so she also taught me, like she was explicit as I was growing up that I had to manage the money. And so interesting enough, like in my relationship today, like I manage the money, I do so, and I am fair. Like I make sure that our names are on everything. Like my
Mm.
husband doesn't really care. Like he's
He
like,
doesn't need to care because you're
he
fair.
exactly, because
Yeah.
because my grandmother said, do not do blindly, like learn from me.
Mm,
Because they split up when I was in high school. So, I was like front row seat to all of it. Still, I love my grandfather, but I saw what having found the love of his life,
yeah. Hmm.
what he sort of did.
Mm,
And I was stunned,
yeah.
So, anyway.
I mean, I I am one to say that in an ideal world, and in my ideal world, I think if you've got a couple raising a family and the woman prefers not to work and the man can bring in enough money for the two of them, I wouldn't, I think that is an honorable decision. We don't
I
live in
want
that.
that girl. I'm sorry. I want that. I want that. I
We
cannot convince my
we don't live
husband to
in
do
that
it.
ideal world, but but the real point I'm making is, but if the woman wants to work, that choice should be available to her. And I
Absolutely.
almost feel as if we're moving with, for whatever reason, into a space where we are glorifying one at the expense of the other. And
Yes.
and
That
and
is
maybe some would say that motherhood and you know being a supportive partner has been belittled. And yeah, in the culture, to some extent, it has been.
yes.
Many of us who are not out there earning a dollar and we're just taking care of our kids, or and supporting partners in some cases, we're often made to feel guilty,
Yeah.
or um, or less than, or like, why are you not working, or why are you so lazy, or um that's been belittled. But on the other hand, I feel as if there's a nostalgia for something that isn't real. I think the reality is that women have always worked, by
Yes.
and large. So women
Yes.
not working is more of um a glitch. Because if you look, I mean, I'm not an anthropologist, but
Yeah.
even back in those days, there was work for everybody, right? Because
Yes.
you didn't have vacuum cleaners, you didn't have grocery
I don't
stores.
know. I
Everything
think
had to
that
be done, you
I
know.
think that the haves had the ability to really not work.
But if you go
Um,
all the way back,
yeah.
before we had agriculture, and before we had settled communities, everyone worked and everybody had
Indeed.
responsibility. And
Yes.
if you look, I don't know, if you look through culture and you look through history, you don't see that only men had skills. You see women
Yes.
had skills, whether they were weaving baskets, whether it was making clothes, whether it was So I don't think there's really been a time where um women have only been attending to the household. I might be wrong.
Yes.
I'm not an anthropologist. I'm not a linguist. Could
I
be
think
wrong.
that they're, and I think that TV movies have a lot to do with it. But
Mm,
what I like now is shows like, which I haven't watched. I
mm,
haven't watched, but I heard this. Um, what is it? The Gilded Age or something like that. They say that
mm.
as they show the people who are working, because in those shows in the past, they would only show the people who were aristocrats,
Right.
as if they didn't have a whole bunch of people behind them
Yeah. There's been a shift.
making that
There's been a shift.
happen.
Yeah.
Yes. So you're right. I think there always have been working women. And I think that my observation is the work in the home is being pulled up more for women. Um, but we'll see. We'll see how things go. America is a very interesting space right now.
But I'll tell you that there's a trap with that for women. And it's a trap that you find in every society where education and career advancement is low on the agenda. And the trap is that if you are in a situation where your husband is not good to you, where
Mm,
he's abusive, or where he's just unlucky and loses his means of bringing in income through
providing.
health or
Mhm.
whatever, there's nothing you can be trapped. You can be trapped in in a dangerous situation. So
Yeah.
and maybe it wasn't necessarily always so when people lived in more close-knit communities because the community
Right.
lift up the individual family. But I think
Yes.
we're putting women in a very, very dangerous position if we're saying your education and your ability to stand on your own 2 feet um
Yes.
isn't that important. What you got to do is make babies.
Yes. Yes.
um
I would agree.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But you know something, we're talking really broadly here. And Tablet Junction is a literary publication. So I'm hoping that our readers are interested in all this stuff. But I want to talk a little bit about the books and the writing as well.
Sure.
Has writing fiction transformed you? And I'm asking you this because more so than the writer like Zadie Smith, who started maybe in her teens, you started writing fiction just a few years ago.
I
So
know.
you might be more alert to whether there's been any real transformations to you as a person through this journey that you embarked on.
Oh, I would say that the transformation for me is perhaps not the word I would use. I would use the word um, awareness of who I am and
Mm,
um, awareness of the things that are me, that make me. So, where we started off today, I was working through this world not recognizing um, that I was doing those things, not necessarily, right? That I was being this very purposeful woman going through the world.
uh-huh.
Um, when I started writing, and I love listening to other writers because it's interesting. It was interesting to me to hear writers not take things from their lives. Like even uh I think I always put the veneer, like somewhere in weaved into the characters is something that I've heard, something that I've felt. And writing for me has been a way of being more conscious about who I am and what I'm feeling,
Mm,
more conscious of perhaps things that were affecting me that I wasn't aware of, you know. And I think being able, and I still have a ways to go. One of my, I would say, sisters in this world and sort of spiritual connection in this world, she said to me, you still have a lot to go through, Carlene, Scarlet. You still have a lot to go through. Because there are things that you haven't broached yet. So, up until now, it's a lot been my father.
Hmm.
It's been weaved into a lot of my writing, and then even my married life, my existence with my husband has weaved in to many of the
Yeah.
stories. Um, but I haven't addressed my mother. I haven't addressed um, just the space of even like my school years. Like there are things that are layered within you that I love being able, like some people might say, let it go. It's in the past,
Hmm.
but so many things I think affect you and you're not even conscious of it, that it might be pulling you down, out, in ways that you might prefer not to be pulled, but you're not even aware of it. So this whole idea of becoming, I think for me has been what writing, the gift that writing has given me. That that I am, but um, I was not aware of, okay, let me put it this way.
Yeah.
Um, there is a character that I'm writing that I have been writing from the beginning
Uh-huh.
who I would admit is probably a lot like me. And what has been interesting is people's reaction to her has been so negative. A lot of
Mm.
people hate her.
Yeah.
And I've just been sitting with that because the things that she chooses to do and how she chooses to move through the world. So again, I'm in the space of writing her. In many ways, she is me,
Hmm.
but what does that mean? Is the answer that I'm coming to.
Hmm. Well, um, I'm not sure if I know that character, but I have to say I don't hate any of your characters.
You
I
may not have encountered her yet,
what
or
what
you may not be conscious of her yet.
okay. What strikes me, especially with Scarlet Birthright, is how e every character, or at least most of the characters, maybe not the grandma so much, maybe everybody except the grandma, you could see their flaws, and you could see sometimes how their flaws caused real hurt to others.
Yeah,
You know
yeah,
how their choices
yes,
impacted other people for life, and yet I could feel your compassion for each one in their
yeah,
humanity,
yeah.
and to me that was so beautiful. And all I can say to you in this moment, and you can see how you can make that work for you every day of your life. And I say this to myself, and I say this to everyone listening: have compassion for yourself,
Mm-hmm,
and
mm-hmm.
in your work, and I suppose let the spirit lead you, so to speak. Let your subconscious lead
Absolutely.
you. Let your subconscious lead you. So I love that answer. And I believe that when writers say that they're not drawing from their own life, what they probably mean is what they're writing is not autobiographical fiction.
Mm-hmm.
However, I think it is impossible not to draw from your own life. You can
I
only write through
agree.
your lens. You can only write through what interests you, even if you're writing some kind of space opera set 500, 600,000 years into the future.
Even
It
then,
is going to come from what's inside of you, what you believe,
yes,
what you fear, what you can imagine. Um, in a sense, our imagination is limitless, but nonetheless, it's not random.
indeed, indeed.
Yeah. So one of the things about your writing that I enjoy, um, as someone a lot of my experience of reading Black authors, you know, I'm is reading books where there is some degree of trauma. If it's
Mm.
set in America, racism is often a prominent theme.
Mm-hmm.
Um, whether it's contemporary authors, or if you're reading
Historical, yeah.
something, yeah, going back. Um, what was that one called? The Vanishing Half. Do you remember that? Do you know?
I haven't read
You've heard
it.
of it.
Yeah.
You've heard of it.
Yes.
Whether it's something like The
Yes.
Vanishing Half, whether it's something like Chimamanda Adichie's
Oh,
Americana,
yes.
um, or Toni Morrison. And by contrast, or to mention a British author, something like Queenie, um, by contrast, your work, I wouldn't I haven't really. Do you deliberately avoid racism, or is it that it just doesn't come up because you are writing about the interpersonal relationship and you're writing about, interpersonal struggles that can lead to something beautiful? I mean, in your writing, there's playfulness, there's joy, and when there's conflict and struggle, usually you take it to an ending where there is hope, or where there is learning, or where there is growth, or there where or, you don't end you don't write tragedy. It's just not
That is
you.
true. That is
And not
true.
only, and I'm not saying you don't write trauma, you do write about the very real traumas of interpersonal life, but you do seem to avoid, or maybe it's not avoidance, maybe it just doesn't belong in your work, um that massive, gargantuan element of Black life, which
Yes.
particularly in America, but very, very much so, even in the Caribbean, also in a place like the United Kingdom, racism, racial oppression, all of that, just you managed to not zone in on that and not focus on that. And I think there are readers who want that. I think there are readers who know that it is important to write and read and explore these things for all readers. It's also important to enjoy and explore and navigate life without it. Because there's more to
Indeed.
life than all of that. So what, that's a long question. A long sort
It's
of,
a
yeah.
very good question.
Yeah.
This morning I saw a post with Nina Simone speaking, and I love her. And she talked about the fact that her creative expression reflects the world as it is today. Um, and
Hmm.
as when she was
Yeah.
alive.
Yeah.
And and that has been a question for me. So you raise a very good question. It's been a question for me. It's been a question for me living now, why that does not touch my work. Because it's real. It's real. Oh my gosh. Um in one of my roles, I was the lead of their Black employee network, and I describe it as a sin eater role. There was a book that I read where it described this person who was a sin eater who literally took in the grievances of everybody.
Hmm.
And I felt like that because in that role, I heard so many stories about Black people in our particular company and what they experienced. And it was hard. It was very hard. It was a learning. It was blessed work. I was able to motivate um, and influence positively a lot of people, but it was very hard.
Hmm.
But not typically do I write about that. Interestingly enough, I do write under my real name, so Scarlet Ibis James, as you can tell, is a pseudonym. But um, in I do write work-related topics in my given name,
Hmm.
and in some of those writings, I do bring up race, especially in the workplace, in some ways. So for my fiction, I have two things that I think I've consciously done.
Hmm.
So I actually don't even write what I enjoy reading. So, um, what brought me back into the world of reading and writing were the works of, like, I can say, so what I always say, my canned answer to the work that influenced you. Definitely the work of Earl Lovelace. The Wine of Astonishment is
Yeah.
still my number one book that I reread quite often. I thought it was so beautiful, but so many of his stories are amazing and are about race and class and colonization.
Mhm.
Love his work. And that is true. That remains true. But when I read for pleasure, it's usually something that's overly spicy. And so, like the works of Theodore Taylor. And what I actually see is that a lot of my reading is with interracial couples.
Interesting.
Because
Do you go for that? Or does it
I
come
don't
to
know.
you?
I think, well, I discovered Theodora Taylor. That's all she writes. She
Okay.
is in an interracial marriage herself.
Uh-huh.
Um, but her, like, I am stunned at her. Like, I admire her because the stuff that she writes all across. I don't love every single thing she does, but I literally cannot put her work down if I start. But I love it because there's always a solid story in there. The women are always strong. It's always strong Black women in different types of interracial settings, and the men are strong too. So I really love reading her characters. It's almost like I really gravitate towards her characters, and there are lots of others that I read like that. Um, and I think that I would say that if you look at Scarlet Yearnings, most of the couples in that book are interracial. Most. Um, and I gravitated to not representing my husband in my
Okay.
characters.
Okay.
So that is the first conscious thing that I do. Like none of them,
Yeah.
I did not, and in fact, in my real life, for whatever is the case, I have never had an interracial relationship. So it's like, and so I think about those situations and I almost imagine what it might be like in my stories.
So it's a do you think curiosity
I think
is
it's
partly what drives you to write about it? I'm sorry,
I
that's a
also
weird thing
want
to,
to, I feel
that,
like it's less curiosity
yeah,
and more that I, being a married woman who writing is a new thing. Writing is a new thing for me, but I don't want my husband to ever feel like if I write somebody who looks like him, I feel, and it's not him.
yeah.
Like
Then
I feel like
yeah,
like it's almost
yeah.
like cheating. Like
Okay.
I, so it's almost like I don't want. It's more about my marriage more than anything else. Like I don't like I
You not want to
hold
make sure you're
that
not
relation.
writing your marriage.
I know that
Okay,
this
okay,
is
I get that. I
so that's one.
100% get that. I 100% get
I'm
that.
going to get to your question. The second thing is, in my experience, and this is coming back to a sort of a pre-show discussion. In my experience, um, I have navigated this world in very positive um, relationships with white people. So, in other words, I have not directly experienced or been aware of, so I recognize that it could be happening, I'm just not aware of it, where I have been negatively affected by racism. I am aware of it, that it's real.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that the way that I come into the world, the way that I address the world is very bold. It's very
Specific.
open. It's
Yeah.
very, I'm kind. So I, um, I also want to believe that what you put out is what you get back. I want to believe that. So I can't write about traumatic. Oh, sometimes it does when I'm aware, like when I'm aware of it through the news or when I'm aware of it, like it will come in. So recently, I think I wrote something on Substack about this idea that you're being fired because you're Black, assuming that it's a DEI hire. Like I think that was just excuse me, that is just because I'm Black and in this role doesn't mean that I'm a DEI hire. I resisted the idea of a DEI hire my whole life. Like, hire me because I'm the best person for the job. Like, I bring all those things to my world, but I personally have not, let me knock on some wood, felt
Yeah,
trauma related to racism.
right. I get that. I
So,
get that.
um, So it's just interesting that I do tend to in my a lot of my relationships I talk about interracial. So even in Scarlet Birthright it's interracial,
Yeah.
but the next one might not be.
Yeah, I've
But
heard
you
some hints
know,
about the next one. Yeah.
but I choose no, I do okay, the third thing. So the first thing was that um that really I think I haven't experienced it,
Mhm.
right? I'm aware of it. I've heard, I believe, but I just haven't experienced it. The second thing, I'm influenced by these writers, and Theodora is not the only one. She's just the one that comes to mind
Mhm.
who write exclusively in sort of this interracial world. Um, and I gravitate towards that. And I think the third thing is more along the lines of I am I want to put out what I want to see in the world. So one
Mhm.
of my other people that I admire um, is Rebecca Witherspoon. She's another writer, American writer, and she wrote a young adult novel, which I don't typically like, but I loved hers.
Right.
I can't remember the name of it offhand, but it's her most recent one. And I thought that it was so interesting how she represented the parents of the girl in that and I went to one of her readings and conversations as an author and I asked her how come you did not like there was a situation where t in a typical story the parents would have been so angry and at the girl
Uh-huh.
and what the parents greeted her with was empathy and support and love. And I asked for Rebecca, that was just so surprising. And her response was, there's so much negativity in this world. I think if we're writing and we're writing fiction, let's write what we want. Let's write what we want to see in this
Yeah.
world
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
versus it being always what is. Let's write into being a possibility. And I think that that's where what I deliberately do in my
So
writing.
that, yeah,
I
yeah.
write
Hmm.
what I hope the world would be.
That is beautiful. And what you just said is how I read your work. In other words, that's what I get from it. I do get that. Um, I do get that. I just want to explore something else related to what you said. I would say similarly that throughout my life, whether in Trinidad or the United Kingdom, I haven't experienced a lot of anti-Black racism directed at me. However, I have witnessed it. So it's not that it's not there.
Yes.
And, you know, one of my friends put it to me, and this is someone who's very fascinated by what we call in the UK class. You know, we talk about the upper class, the middle class, the lower class. I know in other parts of the world it might be thought of differently, the working class. Um, he would put it to me that it's a middle class privilege.
It is. I agree.
So in other words, possibly you and I are somewhat
Insulated.
shielded from some of the
Yes.
that racism out there, or at least the more blunt racism, by middle class privilege. But we have to, nonetheless, I believe we all of us need to stand in solidarity,
Yes.
um, despite that privilege, or even so more so because of it, because what is privilege
Yes.
for but to be used to do
Yes.
good, you know?
Absolutely.
So I'm with you all the way. As a writer, you have to bring into the world what you're called to bring into the world. And
Yes.
for some writers, they are called to write about the injustice and to write
Yes.
about the ugliness and through that to ask us to do better. And
Yes.
and you're called to write about what could be and to make people think about what could be.
And for them to see themselves in those roles too
Mm,
of here's how that could be.
yeah.
I do agree, and I do believe so it's interesting is like where I choose to live, where I choose to exist in the world, where I choose to have my sons go into, all that is I've always wanted to feel like I can be anywhere.
Mm,
I can be, yesterday in the heart of the village with a lot of people who are not the norm for me. Um, or I could be, in the Harlem, you know, Black Book Fest, Black and African Literature Festival, like surrounded by people, intellectual, you know, people, or when I don't do as much as I would like to now in the nonprofit space, but before we used to live in Connecticut and doing a lot for people who we're trying to raise up. So I think in my life I do a lot of different things, but it's always around the same thing. So people can see that this is a relationship that can be. Last thing I would tell you, so speaking of that, when I worked in Connecticut, I was a part of the United Way Women's sort of network and Women United. And I remember interacting with this Hispanic man, and he was a philanthropist, but he wasn't always. He says, I benefited from these programs.
mm,
And he said, what was important for me is that I am able to come back now and give
yeah.
and be, and that people can see that this person can also be a philanthropist. And I love that. And I said, you've given me the words. So, yes, I am a philanthropist. And yes, little girl who looks like me, you can be too, even though you're not. So, it's almost like showing the hope, showing what can be is what I feel
Yeah.
in many ways. So, thank you for that, even this morning. I never articulated it in that way, but I,
Yeah.
I want to show the hope of what could be, even in relationships where you're trying to heal yourself.
And I mean, that is the power of conversation. Sometimes you find yourself articulating to yourself and to the other person,
Yes,
you know, something that you hadn't quite joined the dots on before, but it was there.
yes,
And
yes.
we draw things out of each other, and that's lovely. Um, okay, I don't know if this question is going to take you by surprise, but I'm going to throw it at you.
Throw it.
Talk to me about African spirituality. And
Oh,
a
yeah.
little preamble here. It's not often, for me, maybe not, maybe it's different for other people, but it's not often for me that I stumble upon references to African spirituality in the fiction that I read. And African spirituality is also something that is um not something I'm deeply familiar with. I think I like a lot of people in the West. I grew up in a Christian tradition in a majority Christian country. Um, and many of us, I suppose even on the African continent, but certainly in the diaspora, in the times that we were growing up, African spirituality was like, this polytheism
Taboo.
and this polygamy. Yeah, yeah. Spirit worship, ancestor worship, obia, voodoo, you know. Um, so we have maybe more negative, um, at least in our growing up years. And then with wisdom, as we grew older, we able to recognize that prior to the Abrahamic faiths, these type of naturalistic, polytheistic um, concepts of spirituality were pretty universal.
Yeah.
So all that to say that um, I'm new to this stuff, you know, and but I find it in your work. I found it in your short story collection, not in every story, but woven in here and there. And I felt it in Scarlet Birthright, and it was such a surprise because it wasn't woven in throughout the whole novel, but it tied it up so beautifully. It it took the story onto a higher plane.
Oh,
And I
I
think,
love that you said
right?
that.
Where does this drive to incorporate African spirituality into your work come from?
Totally Arrow Lovelace.
Hmm. Oh,
Totally.
really?
Totally. The Wine of Astonishment.
Love it.
Um, I it rekindled a memory for me. So the interesting thing about my grandmother um was taken out of school at grade 3 and given to someone who she had to work for basically.
Hmm.
Um, and the person was Catholic. And so that's when my grandmother became Catholic. And mind you, staunch Catholic. Her children were all baptized Catholic. Her grandchildren,
Uh-huh, uh-huh.
even my children are like baptized, even though I would profess to be agnostic. In my head, I hear her saying, "You can never not be Catholic." But
Oh my
anyway,
God, my grandmother used to say the same thing.
absolutely, absolutely. And but what I remembered um, after I reading Wine of Astonishment is that growing up, all my grandmother's all my grandmother's siblings were spiritual Baptists, or when we were up, shelter Baptists,
Oh,
this type
right.
of. And so my grandmother also would send me to when they had their, and I don't even know what they're called. So, but when they had their celebrations and they cook outside and everybody wears white and the whole thing, she would
Yeah.
send me.
They're
She wouldn't
rituals.
go.
Shall we call it rituals?
She
Or
wouldn't go, but I would go.
uh-huh.
I had to go, especially in my teenage years, my high school years.
So your grandmother would
I
send you even though she'd become a staunch Catholic. So why was she sending you? Do you have an answer to that? Is it that she felt there was something there
I
that you
never
couldn't?
asked her.
Yeah,
I never asked her. I don't know. Cannot understand that woman. She
yeah.
was interesting. So she would send me, and so with my cousins and my uncles, I was aware of a different way,
Mm.
right? On my mother's side, um, I know that my mother did not speak about her family a lot. I'm actually, when I go to Tobago this time, I've asked my aunt, my mother's sister,
Hmm.
to help me, help me, you know, um, excavate some of my history
Yeah.
on that side because my mother had a very tough experience with having me, I think, with her family, and she probably never forgave them. But um, on my mother's side, I know that they live in Lekito or Lekoto, which is typically very
Yeah.
much tied to the whole obia. Like I was aware of that growing up, but I don't know if any of it is connected. But I knew Lekito, I knew that it was symbolic
Uh,
of this.
yeah, the second way you pronounce it sounds more familiar to my ear.
Lekito is how it's pronounced, but it's spelled Lekoto. It's, French, whatever. I don't know what
Yeah,
it was before.
yeah.
Yeah.
But there's
But
the French pronunciation and there's the Trinidad and Tobago pronunciation.
Trinidad is
Two different
Lekito.
things. Yeah,
Trinidad is Lekito.
yeah, yeah.
My husband, who is Haitian, would say that's not how you pronounce it. I said, that is the way that it's pronounced. So anyway, so I want to tell you though, I want to give you grace and
Uh-huh.
let you know, I
Yes.
am not familiar either. So even though I say I went every year, that was probably over the space of 5 years. So not a
Uh-huh.
lot of time
Uh-huh.
and like one thing at a time, so we never spoke about what we were doing. Like I don't know. And my grandmother never spoke about it. But I think Granny always so to answer your question, I think she and my grandfather wanted me to always feel connected
Uh-huh.
to my wider family. So there
Okay.
were lots of opportunities as I was growing up, and she always sent me away. I think in hindsight, being a parent myself now, I understand she needed a break. And so like raising a
Okay. Yeah.
child,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I calculated recently, she was like 50 when she took me in. So
Hmm.
she was not a young person. And
Hmm.
and she had
I'm
this
sorry, I'm
big.
50. I'm a young person, okay?
But take on a 50-year-old to take on a baby at that time, right? Would
Yeah.
you like if my children had children, maybe don't tell them that. But I still admire that. Like I was
Yeah.
shocked when I calculated. I'm 56. I am like I understand. But she would send me. But she and my grandfather, same thing. I went to his side of the family for like certain periods of time because they wanted me to understand who my family was,
Uh-huh.
you know. Um, that being said, I was very Catholic. I did not know about, and I always as well thought of negatively of obia and voodoo.
Hmm.
Um, After reading Wine of Astonishment, I think that it planted in me. It did not grow right away, but it planted in me that there's a colonization that happened
Hmm.
that took away something from us, um, and from me.
Hmm. From all of us.
I've from all of us,
Yeah.
and also, so that was the foundation planted. Medium is a wonderful community. And in Medium, there is this writer. I don't know if she writes on Medium as much anymore. Oh my God, and you've got to forgive me because my brain just, she's on TikTok a lot now. But there was this writer who I was
Are
just
you looking for the name?
Estella. I'm looking for her name.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
She's under at Estella Reads on TikTok now, but
How do you
she would write
spell it?
on Medium,
Okay.
and she also homeschools her daughter, and what she would write would be about the worlds of African gods,
Hmm.
and I didn't. So I loved reading.
Was she writing fiction?
No,
Oh, okay. So this has inspired you as well.
yes.
Okay. Okay. Yeah.
Because and I would ask her more and she would literally write more for me and her daughter because I was like, I don't know anything about this. And so I think that she absolutely reawakened that
Hmm.
memory for me of this is a part of who I am,
And do
right?
you, when you look back at those teenage outings to the Shout Baptist events,
Yes.
and by Shout Baptist events, for the many listeners we have
Who
who may
doesn't?
not know what we're talking about, it's a kind of fusion of Christianity and African spirituality. Um, and I believe that the Jamaicans in Jamaica, there was a similar movement,
Mm.
which was referred to as Pocomania.
Oh, I don't know.
And
Yeah.
there's this author Una Mason of Jamaican
Mm.
heritage who writes about that. She's passed away now. I think it's been more than 100 years since she came into this world. But
Oh.
I digress. So let's get back to it. So as an adult now, with a new interest in African spirituality, do you look back on those days going to the Shouter Baptist meetings and have any new insights, any new understandings, any, yeah, well, do you connect it in a different way now, or was
Yeah.
it all?
I was a typical teen. I was all into myself. I didn't know why I was here. These people did not have hot water. Like there were lizards on like like the stuff that I remember is not helpful.
Okay, all right, okay, I get it. I get it. I do get that. That's
I
fine.
was a teen.
All right. Yeah, I'm expecting too much. You are a teen. Come on, come on. What are
I
you
was a
thinking,
teen.
Amanda?
I wish I'd bought my
Yeah,
books.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I didn't know the gift that I was being given. I really didn't. I really didn't attend.
Hmm.
The last thing that I would tell you is so it was Estella Reads and in Medium, and then Weekend Words. So Weekend Words, I've told you about it. I've tried to get you to come to the meetings, but you refuse. But anyway,
Well, okay, fine.
so anyway, Weekend Words, we'll leave it there.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah.
Weekend Words is a generative writing space that brings people from all over the world, Black and brown people together.
Hmm.
Um, and they have these prompts, and each one is long. Anyway, when we introduce ourselves in the beginning, what I picked up on is many of the people who introduce themselves always say what the indigenous peoples called the place that they live.
Uh-huh.
So they would say, I am this person, and I am usually it's the Canadians, they know it
Uh-huh.
really well.
Yeah,
But
yeah, yeah, yeah.
but they would say, I am in the and they would speak it. And one of them actually, I'm not sure she's a part of Weekend Words anymore, but she's actually Indo-Trinidadian.
Hmm.
And she also called the name where she lives in, I think, Toronto or Ontario. I'm not sure which one, but she would say it. And that again, it's like an awareness of, okay, do I know where I am? You know, where is Harlem? And I can't pronounce it, but I do put it in my books that I'm where these people lived.
And
Um,
sorry, go on.
So I just want to say that, and a lot of the people that write in Weekend Words have a consciousness about um, African spirituality and give honor and grace to not just African spirituality and ways of being. So as an example, we had one Weekend Words where we inspired by the Sinners movie, which if you haven't seen, I totally recommend it. Because of the Sinners movie, we had a generative writer series around this idea of vampire. And
Okay.
of course, what came out was what? Sukuya, because that in the Caribbean is the manifestation of the same concept. And that's where that story of that I wrote that hurt my heart that I didn't win the thing. But
I
that's
loved
where
it.
that story came out
Loved
of
it.
is
Yeah.
like this realization that, you know what, actually this concept is definitely a part of our history. So I think that surrounding yourself by people who are bringing to mind or reawakening this ancestral energy is one thing. But if for my book, Scarlet Birthright, um, I literally Google searched, um, afterlife
Okay.
or, in African spirituality. And that's where that inspired the last part of my book.
Hmm.
Um, and I learned, that's where I learned. And I think there's a divine order to things, Amanda, because, that character in my book is, origins is in Ghana. And when I was planning my anniversary trip for this year, it was I wanted to go to somewhere on the African continent. It was either there or Greece,
Hmm.
and I gave my husband and I think I wanted to also think about Morocco. And he said, well, either Greece or Ghana. He says, I don't want to go to Morocco. I was like, okay. And then price-wise, Ghana was better. So we ended up going to Ghana. but a lot of the spirituality that I happen to have been writing about in Scarlet Birthright, I got to be embedded in Ghana. Interestingly enough, very Christian country, which was so fascinating to me. Like there was even one place where we went to a temple, and the person who was speaking about the atrocities that happened, that sort of what, like they held on to a lot of their things, but he is a Catholic minister. And I'm like, how I literally asked him, I said, knowing the history,
Hmm.
how can you? Like, I don't understand.
When
So
you
it's
say
just very
temple, what do you
interesting.
mean?
It was so in Ghana, it's a very communal history of how they lived, and their temple was, and I'm forgetting the names. If my husband was here, he has my memory. From the time I had kids, my
You took your
husband has my
memory.
memory.
That was so
But
funny. Yeah.
but there was a temple for one of their, and of course it's linked to ancestors because it's always ancestral gods, but it's a very holy place for them in Ghanaian culture. Um, and perhaps I can send you after we could put a link to it. But they talked about in the history, they talked about not being able to practice,
Hmm.
right? You would come to the temple and they had like these trees going out the middle, and you're right. What you talked about before is there's so many cultures of the world where this concept of this circular space, where the symbols of are all around, and and when he talked about I think it was mainly Portuguese at that time, just
They stifle people's,
killed.
yeah.
Like it's not even like stifled to death their way of life. And he just smiled. And because and then what the realization to me came out of that was that Africa was colonized too. It was a different
Hmm.
experience of colonization as
And
the
that's not
Caribbean.
something I learned at school. I was
No.
probably about the age of 40 before it started to occur to me, before I became, I suppose, before it became up there in my awareness that Europeans had basically carved up Africa intentionally, not by accident, for themselves. And there's a lot of backlash against so-called decolonization. And decolonization of the mind is a concept of let's teach everybody the real history so that they can understand the real truth of our collective history. And I think the mistake is where uh, folks of European heritage, folks with a little bit less melanin, white folks, not all of them, many of them, are in solidarity with us, but and I shouldn't even say folks, that's not even fair because there are a lot of people of color who also do not recognize the value of decolonization as a process. They just think, let the past be the past, forgetting that we can't make a better future if we don't understand how the past influences the present. So
Absolutely.
decolonization is a win for all of us because,
Absolutely.
you know, anyway, let's not get I don't want to get into the political weeds of this, but we harm ourselves when we don't have consciousness. The less conscious we are of reality, the easier it is for us to be fooled, misguided, misled.
Yes.
So
One of the things
uh-huh,
I would
yeah,
say is that going to Africa was truly a blessing, because um, going to Africa as a West Indian person, which is also a colonization word,
yeah,
but um, going as somebody from Trinidad, because in the run up to going to Ghana, we looked at a lot of videos on YouTube to
right.
prepare, and we saw a lot of Americans going there and being just wowed, like
Hmm.
of not being considered black. Like it's not a thing.
You're
Everybody's
just
black.
American. You're just American, right?
You're American, right? And but they loved it because it was perhaps sometimes the first time for them going to a place. Because for me, being in Trinidad, it was like you're Trinidadian, like everybody's Trinidadian. It's different. So going to Africa was different for me. And I think I was judgmental in the first. I was like, you didn't have slavery. But they did, and they had colonization, which was an awareness that I needed to grow. Now, I had already written Scarlet Birthright by that time,
Right.
but I think that that concept is likely to make it into some of my stories in the future because I was very much conscious of the challenge that Africa has, um, and and just giving them grace as well because they're now trying to make it out on their own. Because even though we had independence, their experience was different. I mean, before Mali and Burkina Faso and all these places kicked out the French, they was still literally paying France for so much.
So it's not just Haiti then.
And Haiti from since the beginning,
Oh my
right? Like
gosh,
when
yeah.
you really put your mind, or even Trinidad, like I look, girl, recently, and again, I was this year's old when I suddenly realized, why are we celebrating emancipation? I said, what are we really celebrating? That they freed the slaves and then gave reparations to all the slave owners, gave the slaves zero, brought indentured Indians in, gave them property,
Well, I don't
right?
think we shouldn't celebrate Emancipation Day, but it is an opportunity for consciousness raising around everything else.
I
Yeah,
think that that's right. I think that
yeah.
that's absolutely right. But all we say is the slaves were emancipated. And I'm like, we're celebrating that they did the right thing. I had issues with it. I
Hmm.
had issues with it.
Yeah.
I had issues with it.
Yeah. Well,
And I think because we also don't celebrate, like, I think Juneteenth is the closest that we might have here, where we celebrate the slaves knowing, but it's a very different nuance in the celebration.
oh yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, I, I think that more focus is given on they ended slavery finally versus we are free. Like, it's different. And I feel the words that we choose are so important.
Mhm. So in
The
America,
words we
the
choose.
celebration is slavery's ended, but actually, uh, Black Americans aren't necessarily, even today, living in a free and equal society. Yeah. Wherever in the world we are, that's something to strive for. I mean, okay, America's a big country and it's an English-speaking country, and therefore the rest of the English-speaking world always has a lot to say about America. But truth be told, it is not only America.
I
And
agree.
you know, when we talk about injustices that need correction, you know, as two Black people who have admitted to our middle class privilege, which we say we have to use for good, and
Yes,
we do use it for good wherever we can. We also want to be aware that there's a lot of other injustice in addition to racial injustice,
absolutely.
and the
Absolutely.
the oppression of poorer people, and but in fact, there's class injustice, but they're really big systemic injustices, and
To
we
everyone, even to
yeah,
white people, like
that's
even,
right, not just even, let's not even say even,
yes,
because they are equal victims
yes,
almost when it comes that they're equal, except that they don't also have the anti-black or brown prejudice on top of it.
right,
So what
right.
we really need is solidarity, not just on the
Yeah.
basis of race, but on the basis of we are the people who want to
Humanity.
see this better future. This is what it
Yeah.
looks like. Let's spread the word. Let's see how we can make it happen.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
I think seeing people
mhm,
as human, seeing
yeah,
seeing everyone as human and recognizing where this human is experiencing something different because and fill in the blank,
yeah.
and let's do something about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to just ask you two more quick questions before we wrap up.
Mhm.
Because I realize we keep having conversations that each
Not
one could be
legitimately, but they
unending, right?
are.
Each one could be unending. um, so this is a question that you may not have an answer for, and that's okay. Um, I was going to ask you a taboo question. Taboo, taboo. How do you
It's
pronounce it?
taboo. Taboo. It's taboo.
It's taboo in the UK, but where we come from is taboo, right?
It's taboo.
Right. So the taboo question I was going to ask you, you have already answered it
Oh, I
somewhere.
have?
Yeah, you
Hmm.
have. Because I was going to ask you about the fact that you tend to gravitate towards mixed background relationships, whether it's a mixture of cultures or race or ethnicity. Um, so now I'm going to have to change that. And I'm going to ask you, and there may not be an answer, but can you think of something that in your growing up years was taboo and isn't anymore for you, not for the
Oh,
world, for
and
you?
isn't
Is there
anymore.
any shift that in your life you've made on a subject of taboo? And if there isn't an answer that comes to mind right now, you can just leave that. And when you think of it, you can let me know and we can add it. We can add it in.
I think that growing up for me, um, the thing that was it was always about being a woman or girl in the world and not becoming pregnant. So the whole thing about Claire's book was real to me, girl.
Oh,
Like
wow.
it was so
Yeah.
much because
We're talking about
like
Love Forms by Claire Adam for
yes,
viewers
Love Forms by
who may
Claire
not have
Adams. It was a great
finished the book.
book.
Yeah.
It was a great book.
Yeah.
Um, but I think that the memory for me was you can't get catch. That was a very
Hmm.
real, but also I think that why I probably explore these things of interracial is because that was taboo. So I told you when I first read your story that I had
Yeah.
you were the first Muslim Trinidadian I ever, I think, I think you were the first that I'd ever interacted with, ever. Like I lived
Really? What? You don't mean in fiction? You
never,
don't mean in fiction, you mean in real life?
yeah, in real life.
But I'm not even a Muslim anymore, so think about it. You haven't interacted with any Muslim Trinidadians. Oh dear.
It was it to me, they were all in St. Joseph in the temple there in
Almost.
St.
For the
Joseph.
mosque,
I didn't
right?
know anything about them. Like I didn't know where they lived. I didn't know anything.
Wow. Well, you live in
And
Samoa. There
I
are plenty
know
of Muslim Trinidadians in Samoa,
I
girl.
will give you even one better.
You probably just
I
didn't know they were Muslim. Think about
I
it. Just thought that.
I also did not interact really with
Uh,
anyone of Indian descent. Not really. So
wow.
there were people of Indian descent in my class. We're still connected today, but I can tell you I've never been to their house. I've never, like growing up, we would not mix. Right. I was surrounded by Indian people where we lived. I was aware of my neighbor. I was aware of my neighbors. Like the whole thing of the telephone in Scarlet Birthright, like we would have to go next door because they
Yeah.
had a telephone, and we would go once a month to talk to my father until we got a telephone. But socially, we never interacted.
Wow.
Right across the street, there was somebody from the hardware across the street that I went to school with. We just
That's
never, you
fascinating.
interacted within your space.
Fascinating. Fascinating.
Worse, one time when I came back one time, there was this light-skinned guy who showed interest. And after I came back, this was before I got married, just in case my husband's listening. So, the thing is he was so infatuated. supposedly.
Mhm.
But he said, I need to go see your grandmother, you know. And so I know, he went to see my grandmother, and Granny called me immediately. She says, no, no. She says, change your number. You may not. She says they will spit on you. Like, because he lived on the west side.
Mhm.
And this is me at like 21, 22. Like
Wow.
I changed my number immediately. Like I
You
cut
know,
him right off. And so today I would tell you that I will interact with everybody. Like
mhm, mhm.
I would not feel, but that was, I think, the thing that comes immediately to mind was around this, you interact you with black people, period.
That's fascinating. And again, we could speak on that subject for an hour. So but you know, when you saw my mouth open, it was because I had a similar experience at a
Did
similar age. Yes. There was this Muslim Indian guy who liked me, and I invited him to my house and I cooked for him. And afterwards, it might have been over the phone. He rang me up and he said, it's not going to work because if I marry you, because you know he was, you know, Muslim guys, they think marriage really quickly. They don't think we're going to be serious
Immediately.
a long time, right?
That's
They
right.
think, okay, we're making a decision here. We're either marrying or we're not marrying, right? So he was like, if I marry you, I think my family going to disown me because my cousin did this. My cousin married someone who was like half Indian and half something else, half African maybe, and her family disowned her or him or whichever it was. So he thought to himself, I have to choose between my family, and of course, family support's important, especially when you want to raise a family of your own. I have to choose between my family and my interest in you. And I don't think he chose, I'm not judging him. And I mean, I wasn't heartbroken because luckily I hadn't fallen in love with him yet either.
Hmm.
um, but yeah, this is real and this is recent. And it just goes to show this is recent living memory. We talk about Trinidad as this cosmopolitan place, so harmonious. And to some extent, it is. Nonetheless, we are still that every creed and race find an equal place, and the true harmony,
There's a place.
integration, and trust between the
Hmm.
racial groups is still something to be aspired towards,
Too.
you know? So
Hmm.
last question.
Hmm.
You're going to Trinidad soon. Your itinerary is on your website. I am
Yes.
excited for you. You're going to be signing those books. I am so excited for you. I love how
Thank
you
you.
made that happen. I love how you made that happen. Um, Last question. What are you looking forward to most when you go to Trinidad?
Ooh, um, so I would be remiss. Scribbles and Quills. Radia Ali has been just amazing from the beginning.
Uh-huh.
In my journey, I have not met her in person, and
Mhm.
so I'm looking forward to meeting her.
Mhm.
Um, I did meet Simone from Paper Based when I was there.
Yeah.
Um, Recently connected with Arlene, or what was Arlene's last name? I think it's Arlene Joseph from chapters and chats. She is a dynamic woman who grew up not too far from where I did.
So you're looking forward to meeting these wonderful women in
Yes,
person. Yeah.
yes, yes, you
Yeah. These
complete me.
wonderful supporters of literature.
And in particular,
Mhm.
I'm looking forward to going to Tobago. I'm going with my sister,
Right.
and she loves Tobago. So she's going with me. But there's this place called, oh my God, girl, why are you putting me on the spot like this?
Me?
Yes, you, because I have to like do all these memory things.
Oh, I
Um, Shoot, Sure Things,
yeah.
Cafe. The food on their Instagram page. I think that what I miss, Amanda, most
Uh-huh.
is the Sunday dinner meal. When I go and my sister cooks it, I swear I would love her forever.
Hmm.
But but Sure Things has a picture of the red beans, rice, plantains, macaroni pie, stew chicken, callaloo.
I feel like I've been there once.
I am
I'm gonna look it up.
so looking
Yeah,
forward to
yeah,
that. I'm going to be there on Wednesday the 15th.
yeah.
Not a book event, it is a food event for me
Amazing,
because I am
amazing,
just going,
amazing,
like I'm just
amazing.
going to.
Oh, I'm excited for you. I'm really excited for you. I'm excited for the food, not just the books.
Yes. And
And
I
yeah,
would be remiss if I didn't mention as well Heritage Haven. So Heritage Haven and Sure Things are the two places in Tobago where people can buy my books as well. So that was important to me.
yeah.
And then of course meeting my aunt in Lakito as well. It's going to be really
It sounds like
important.
it's going to be wonderful. So
It
I
is.
think that's been that's it's been a wonderful, the time has flown by.
I know.
Yeah. Guys,
Can I
we're
just
getting
say
on
you're
book
a
things. I'm going to be
blessing.
editing.
I gotta say,
Yeah.
you're a blessing, Amanda Creasy, and so many authors along the way that I've met. Such a blessing. You cannot, I think that's the thing about writing that we haven't mentioned is
Uh-huh.
that the community within the writing community is so strong and beautiful.
Yeah, that's
I
beautiful. That is
love
beautiful.
it.
Yeah, yeah, great. Fantastic. So go out there, Scarlett. You keep writing, you keep talking about your work, you keep sharing your work, keep supporting other writers. It's been beautiful. It's been wonderful.
Thank
So
you.
let's end it
Can we
there.
do this
Uh-huh.
when you are ready with your next book? We've got to have a Substack Live. Hopefully you would have what you need by then. And I want to interview you. That's
Oh,
how
I
that's
would
going to
love
work. Because
that.
I
We should
never
do
got
a
a
book
chance to ask you
launch.
any
We should do a
questions.
book launch.
Hello. So, yes.
Looking forward to that. Let's not make this a long goodbye because we could spend 15 minutes saying goodbye to
See
you.
you later. See you later,
Love
Amanda.
you. Bye.
Bye.